Okay, quick video on dumbbell movements. Chances are if you're trapped at home or unable to get access to the gym right now, you're probably using a dumbbell as your form of external weight during workouts. These come from issues that I've helped people out with here, coaching Avicii Athletics, or clients or mistakes I've made myself. We're going to go through 4 things. Starting position for single dumbbell movements like dumbbell snatch or clean and jerk from the floor, pronated versus neutral grip when we're doing those movements, changing hands from the top of the movement if we're going touch and go, and the transition from the hang clean into the jerk. So number 1, starting position for a single movement. I often see people starting with a dumbbell quite far out in front of them. The further away that dumbbell is from your body or from your center of mass, the harder it's going to be to A, keep the arm nice and loose, and B, really utilize your hip extension to power the dumbbell up overhead. So if instead of keeping this dumbbell out in front of me, I actually pull it so it's between my feet, now I can almost get a little bit more like a kettlebell swing motion. I can really extend my hips and use the power from my hips to drive the kettlebell up overhead. I actually think about keeping the dumbbell almost to the handle between my heels, and that way, when I'm going touch and go, I can really keep my arm nice and long and loose, and it almost feels like a heavy kettlebell swing where I can really load up my hammies and my glutes and drive the dumbbell weight up. Pronated versus neutral grip. Benefit of a pronated grip, we've got the dumbbell, the palm of the hand facing forwards, we've got a little bit easier time reaching the overhead position. It doesn't require quite as much mobility, so if you struggle with the overhead position, say in a dumbbell squat snatch or a dumbbell overhead squat, you'll probably find it more comfortable keeping your palm facing forwards. However, if we're doing a dumbbell snatch, like a muscle snatch or a power snatch or a hang clean and jerk, where mobility isn't so much of an issue overhead, we want to keep a neutral grip, because this transfers over better to A, when we're having to change hands and we're doing the movement touch and go, and B, when we're transitioning from a clean up into a jerk. If you imagine trying to change hands when you've got the dumbbell pronated, you're going to have it twisting a lot to keep changing hands overhead. So to avoid that twisting, try and get used to doing your dumbbell movements with a neutral grip. And if you struggle overhead, working your overhead mobility, so that eventually you can do dumbbell squat snatches and overhead squats like that as well. Changing hands from overhead, so when you're doing touch and go between movements. We know that if we're changing hands with the dumbbell overhead, that is a no rep, as prescribed in the open. But obviously the lower down that dumbbell gets, and the closer it gets to it being a rep, which is below head level, or top of head level, the less time we have to change. So to make that more efficient, if you struggle with changing hands, number 1, it's a little tricky to show, but I think about as I'm bringing the dumbbell down, as it comes to the point where it's vertical and it's about like eye level, I'm getting this other hand ready with an almost like an OK grip. Loose OK grip, so that essentially that dumbbell slides from my one supporting hand into my OK grip, and I'm getting that ready as the dumbbell's coming down. So the OK grip, thumb and forefinger are getting ready to pinch together, and then the important bit, the inside face of the top part head of the dumbbell is what's sliding down onto the outside of your hand. So if you find that when you come down to the bottom of the dumbbell snatch, you always get this like boom boom movement instead of the dumbbell coming down flat, it could be that you're holding the dumbbell too far back because you're not allowing the dumbbell to slide and get right onto the top of that hand, and then you can actually keep a really nice loose grip as well. So that OK grip, thumb and forefinger pinching together, inside face of the top head of the dumbbell, slides to the top of the hand, and that's what pulls you down. Which brings you on to point number 2. Instead of waiting until the dumbbell gets to here before this hand that it's moving into comes to help, have this hand almost trailing the dumbbell, following it, so as soon as you're ready to change, you can just slide that hand into place, as opposed to having to just suddenly rush and change hands at the last minute. So get that like OK grip, ready to slide the dumbbell from one hand into the other one, and get that other hand trailing the dumbbell so that it's ready when you need to change hands. So final one, transition from the hang clean and jerk. I got this one from Bronislav after he kicked my ass in the European Champs final. We had hang clean and jerks, one of the movements, and we both got on the dumbbell at the same time, and he got off about like 4 or 5 reps faster than me. I couldn't figure out how he'd gone so fast. This is what he was doing, the more efficient version, and I was doing the slower one. So the one that's most common that we'll probably all do, we pull, we catch, and then we dip, drive, and go. So we're waiting to receive the dumbbell, dipping and then driving the dumbbell up overhead. Instead of waiting for the dumbbell to be in the rack position before you dip and then drive, only pull as much as you need to, only extend as much as you need to get the dumbbell up onto the shoulder, so that by the time it's on the shoulder, we're already driving up, and that speeds up the cycle rate a bit. As opposed to catch, dip, drive, press. Just another little tip to help the cycle rate go faster. That saves you half a second each rep. 20 reps, save 10 seconds, time adds up. So hopefully you found this useful. If you're looking for more of this kind of stuff, check out the JST Compete Instagram page at JST Compete. You'll see the wealth of knowledge that is on there. Happy training and slinging your bells around more efficiently.